Duh.
Me, a Green Day fan. What makes you think that? Hello everyone, I'm Case, Swopian YouTuber you know, who has seen Green Day in concert, just saying, okay? And I did a whole video about it, we'll talk about that a little bit later, but we're reviewing Nimrods today, the Green Day film. Hopefully you guys are ready and excited for that. We're going to be giving this film a review, we're going to talk about the good things I found about the movie, the bad things I found about the movie, and then of course at the end we might have some notes, and then we will be giving this film a rating on a scale from 1 to 10. 1 being similar in quality to stepping on a Lego brick, and 10 being Citizen Kane-esque quality. So, we're going to have a whole lot of fun with this. Hopefully you guys are ready and excited. I know that I sure am. Let's start talking about the good things I found about this film. The first thing I gotta say, ladies and gentlemen, is this film has a lot of people that are maybe not A-list celebrities, but like really big people that play roles that are more than just minor side roles in this film. And so I gotta give a lot of credit to those. For one, though, I will say, Mason Thames, I believe is his name, if I'm not mistaken. He's a big up-and-coming actor, if you will. He is the main character in this film. He, in case you do not know, played Hiccup in the live-action How to Train Your Dragon. So he is, of course, a very, very big deal. He's gonna be in the upcoming film Idiots, if you know anything about that. So yeah, he's been in a lot of stuff. He's making his rounds. And so he, of course, is our main character here. So that's also important to point out. Another young up-and-coming actress in the business who is in this film is also McKenna Grace. She, of course, in case you do not know, starred in the newest Ghostbusters films. She also was in Scream 7. So, a lot of things there. The second film I've seen her in this year, to be quite honest. But either way, got to point that out. Some young blood that are beginning to get themselves some popularity. So, we got to point that out there in this film. And so, this is one of many steps in their up-and-coming rise to stardom. Some other notable people, though, that are in this film I want to say, too. The Office Ladies podcast. And what I mean by that is Jenna Fischer and Angela Kingsley, okay, both, of course, starred in The Office. And Jenna Fischer plays the main character, guys, whose name I forget. I'm terrible with names. His mom, okay? And so she plays a pretty important, big role in this film. Angela Kingsley plays a bar owner that they end up stumbling across in their cross-country road trip. And so that is cool to see that both the hosts of that podcast are inside this film. I don't know what the connection is there. I'm sure there is a connection, but either way, it's really, really cool to see. Speaking of people with connections, when I think of people in the industry with connections right now, I think of James Gunn as one of those people, and one of his connections shows up in this film, his brother Sean Gunn, which is something I was not really expecting until I sat there and was watching the opening credits, and I'm like, whoa, Sean Gunn is in this? That's pretty cool. So his role is a lot more minor, but he does have a good scene or two, which he kind of, steals the show. He plays a drunk mechanic, which is, a whole lot of fun. A far more substantial role we see is the role of the security guy played by Bobby Lee. Bobby Lee, if you've been on Instagram Reels and like any form of comedy, you've probably seen him. He is very, very funny, very, very hilarious, and I can say the same for his role in this film. His role, I want to say, is almost bigger than most of the people I previously mentioned, except for, of course, Mason and McKenna, okay? Other than that, he plays, a really good chunk of role time in like the end of the second act, third act of this film, and so that's a whole lot of fun. Really, really enjoyed seeing that. Of course, Green Day's in this film, obviously, but there is also, of course, the band The Paradox that shows up in this one. Now, The Paradox is interesting, okay? Let me point this out, because they are an all-black punk band, okay? Which you might be thinking to yourself, that's kind of weird, but what's the big deal? Well, here's kind of what the big deal is. If you guys remember back in the good old days, back in like the 2000s, Eminem, okay, was a big deal for him because he was a white rapper who was making it big in a music genre that was predominantly black, and so that caused a lot of things, a lot of controversy though too. This is interesting too, because The Paradox, they're a very important band, I think, in punk history, because they are the first big black punk band. So in the same kind of way that we would view that with Eminem, it's kind of like that, because, I'm also going to knock this out too. This is something that's going to be very obvious. The soundtrack, of course, for this film is fantastic. It is like mostly Green Day music, but also has a lot of other punk bands in it as well. For example, I mentioned The Paradox already. They have a song on this. McKenna Grace is a song on this. And of course, the Analog Dogs, which is the fictional band that our main characters have. They've got a few songs on this, and I believe those are original songs, because I'm pretty confident Analog Dogs is not a real band. So that is still cool to see, and I really, really enjoyed seeing those things. We also got some classic, Rock the Casbah. We have Bad Reputation, Joan Jett, The Clash, classics like that. So that's really fun to see. We don't see as much of that. It's mostly Green Day, but then again, it is a Green Day film, so what do you expect? I was going to point out, too, this film is, of course, a comedy, and one of the funniest reoccurring jokes is the band Analog Dogs, because the way that their name is spelled, and I guess bad handwriting, people keep calling them the Anal Dogs, or Anal Og Dogs, and it's really funny, and so I really appreciated seeing that. It made for a very nice reoccurring joke, and one that every time they brought it up, I'm like, yes. I was going to point out, being a Green Day fan, this is a real treat of a film for you, because there are so many nods, and there's probably even nods I missed, but still some great nods to Green Day and their career and things like that. Here's kind of what I noted that I picked out. For one, in it, the band makes their first demo with a 4-track recorder that they're able to find based on the main character dude's dad's old stuff. And so what happens is he goes ahead and makes it, and that's how Green Day recorded their first demos as well, their early demos on a 4-track. And so that is obviously a nod to the band and what they did. And also, I'm just going to point this out too before I get too far into this point, but the band, they specifically said that they've based a lot of the plot and what kind of happens to the characters in this road trip off of events that they recall that they went through during their early years. And so that's really, really cool to see as well. One of those experiences, of course, being what took place in, what was it, Woodstock 99 or something, I think. I can't remember the year for it, but the Woodstock that happened in the 90s. Green Day's performing on stage. There was just some really bad, heavy rain, and people just decide, hey, you know what? Let's start throwing mud. And so they get mud thrown at them on stage, and it's a whole fiasco, and it's absolutely disgusting, and they talk about it all the time. I've watched the concert footage. It is not a situation I would want to be in. It's just very, very rough. But a similar thing happens to the Analog Dogs. They're performing, and this rain comes in, and people start slinging mud. And as soon as I see that, I'm like, hey, I know what that's a reference to. So that's a whole lot of fun seeing that kind of stuff here. Also, I'm sure you guys are familiar with this, but of course, there was a really massive tour a couple years ago. I believe it overlapped with the pandemic a little bit, between Green Day, Weezer, and Fall Out Boy, which is a stacked lineup, might I say. And that was called the Hella Mega Tour, okay? It was huge, it was massive. Well, it's kind of funny because the tour that Green Day is said to be on in this production, in this film, is called the Hella Tiny Tour, and I think that is hilarious because, yeah. But also, I was thinking about this too, and this just kind of just rang in my head as I was saying this. I have been to a Green Day concert. Again, I did a video on that. I'll talk more about that in a little bit. But the concert that they go to in this film feels so small in comparison. Like, the venue feels small, and they don't have, like, the big screens with, you know, stuff on it. And I realized that, wait a minute, if it's the Hella Tiny Tour, maybe it's intentionally smaller venues. So that kind of makes sense in my mind. But either way, really fun, and I very, very much like that. So I also got to address the elephant in the room, and that, of course, is my Green Day video that I did about 2 years ago now, where I titled it, A Conservative Goes to a Green Day Concert. I, of course, am very conservative with my values, and so I went to the Green Day concert. It was a good concert. I loved it, had a really, really great time. I spent most of the video mostly talking about and kind of tossing ideas back and forth with the spiel that Billy Joe went on during Letterbomb, okay? Because, you know, I knew going into it, they're a very, you know, liberal band. They're from Oakland, California. I kind of understood their views. Their music, I think, is fantastic, though, and so I'm not complaining about it at all. Again, big Green Day guy, if you can't tell. But I can safely say, through this film, watching it, they didn't really do any of that. They didn't do anything really political in this film. And that, of course, makes me happy. I mean, they just kind of avoided politics altogether and just focused on telling this story. And I, of course, very much appreciated that. I think that's going to help it really open up and be more appreciated by a wider audience and not alienate anybody for having any sort of different views and things like that. So I got to give credit to that. But the last big exciting thing I got to say, and again, this makes the Green Day fan in me very, very excited and happy, but the end credits scene is literally a mini concert video, okay? And what I mean by that is this. It is 3 songs they're basically performing live back to back that they just go. And I'm just sitting there like, this is enjoyable. The movie's over, like, but this is, you know, I want to sit through these credits because they're doing the songs. So after the credits end, they perform a set list that contains Revolution Radio, One-Eyed Bastard, 2,000 Light Years Away. So that is cool, and I, of course, enjoyed that. That's a really nice treat, especially you Green Day fans. You're going to absolutely love it. But that, of course, is what I have to say about the good things about this film. We're going to move things over now into the bad section, ladies and gentlemen. So the first bad thing I have to say, and this is just the Green Day fan in me kind of geeking out, but they have, of course, the Drunk Bunny plays a big role in the third act of this film. And the Drunk Bunny costume doesn't look like the Drunk Bunny costume that I'm used to seeing. And so just as a fan, that attention to detail felt a little lacking there. So that is just the smallest nitpick. I only really have one other bad point, but this is a really, really big bad point, ladies and gentlemen. That, of course, is the plot feels generic. And let me tell you what I mean by that. So this film, of course, sets it up like it's going to be a road trip film, okay? And if you've seen road trip films, normally you're used to them, and people get into wacky scenarios and things like that. And a lot of them, especially back in like the late 90s and 2000s, were quite raunchy, okay? And this film is a road trip film through and through, but for a road trip film, it feels kind of dull in that department. Like, I'm interested in what's happening on screen all the time, but it's not ever a point where it's like too funny or is doing anything super wacky, because usually I associate road trips with, wacky stuff, and it almost feels a little too grounded in reality, so that's a problem. And the problem with that is just nothing's happening that really gets me super duper excited or anything like that. And also, in retrospective, I feel like this film, you can glean 90% of the plot and what happens based on the trailers, okay, 100%. Now, there's some nice bits here and there, and there's some good moments. We'll talk about some moments here in a minute. But it just feels really lacking. Like, it's just a really plain film in this genre that I really can't say much great about, to be entirely honest, which is very, very unfortunate. I mean, I love the Green Day stuff, but if you remove the Green Day stuff, what is this film? The film is kind of boring and generic, and I hate to say that because I love Green Day so much, but that's really what it is. There's also something, too, that I think is worth mentioning. So, I mentioned before in the good section that they base a lot of things off the band's personal stories and experience, and in case you don't know, Billy Joe Armstrong lost his dad at a very, very young age, and so did the main character of this film. And there's a few moments in which they reference him or tell a story about him, and it kind of comes up, but it feels a little incomplete, I guess, if that makes sense. There's a really big moment where he's talking with his brother, and him and his brother and this tension that they have is sort of what drives the plot in this film to begin with. Because in case you don't know, massive spoiler, by the way, if you watch the trailers, you know it's set up where Trey Cool says, hey, we want you guys to play for a show we're doing in LA to open up for us, okay? The whole thing is a prank. It's not real from the get-go, and it's because the brother was mad because previously in the film he was putting up Christmas decorations, and his brother, right, Mason Thanes, he took the ladder out when he was on the roof, and so he was really ticked off about that. I don't blame him. I'd be ticked off too. But what happens is they hear this prank call, they take it for real, and they literally go on this road trip. And so the brother's a little panicked then because he's like, crap, I just sent this and my mom's going to kill me. So him and his friend, then they set off also to try to do same kind of thing, to go check on the little bro, of course. But they get to the end, and there's Mad, and there's a scene with the two of them where there's a lot of tension and stuff going on. And the little brother mentions something about at the dad's funeral, how they asked people to stand up who are willing to look out for him, that kind of thing, and his brother stood up. And like, yeah, that's fine and stuff, but they didn't really give us much connection to this whole dad thing. Like, I feel like they did not make us care enough. There were like 2 or 3 passing mentions of said dad in this film, and it just didn't feel like it was weighty enough for me. Like, I think they needed to better establish that, okay? And it's just, I don't know, it felt very lacking. Like, I was not super invested. I feel like they were trying to pull on my heartstrings, and they probably could have if they would have set this whole idea, this concept of the dad issue up a lot better, if you ask me. Not to mention something else that's dumb, too, is our main character, right, he ditches his phone at the end of, like, Act 1 or so, right after they hit the road. And that is a major issue, because if Green Day has your phone number and that's how they're going to reach out to you, why would you want to get rid of your phone, okay? And I even thought about this at the end of the film, too, right? Mason Thames is getting kicked out of the concert by Bobby Lee, and he takes him, like, backstage through a back area, and it runs into Billy Joe Armstrong. And then Bobby Lee is like, hey, do you know this guy? Because he kept saying that he knew the band, right? And then he looks at him, he's like, oh, yeah, you're the Analog Dogs guy, right? And he's like, yes. And he's like, oh, yeah, listen to your demo. We'll have Trey call you, that kind of thing. And as he was saying that, I'm like, but wait a minute. How's Trey going to call him if he doesn't have his phone? So that is really stupid. I mean, I guess he can, of course, go and get a new phone. But, like, why would you want to jeopardize losing your phone, period, around this time when you know that Green Day might be calling you, okay? That's what I don't understand. So, again, feels kind of dumb to me, but that's more of a nitpick rather than the broader issues that I have with this film. But that's going to wrap things up. So at the end of the day, what did I think of Nimrods? So it's complicated. I have a complicated relationship with this film because did I have a good time and enjoy going to the theaters and seeing it? Yes, I did. Do I think it is objectively a good film? Yeah. Do I think it's an objectively great film? No. And that's sort of the problem. So, I mean, it was good. I like Green Day, but if you don't like Green Day and you see this film, you're not going to get much out of it. I'll put it like this. My bias rating of this film, being a Green Day fan, I want to give this a good 7 out of 10. versus if I were not a Green Day fan, this film would probably get like a 5 or 6, honestly, which is very disappointing. I know I kind of wanted it to be a little better than it was, but again, it wasn't like bad. It just wasn't very good if it weren't for the Green Day stuff. And so, again, that's sort of my issue with the film, if that makes sense. But hopefully that makes sense to you guys. And hey, what did you guys think of Nimrods? Love to hear your opinion down in the comments. And if you want to see more videos like this, more reviews, go check out my channel. Hit that subscribe button to see more videos like this. So that's going to wrap things up for me. I, of course, am K Swope. Don't forget, Jesus loves you, and I will see you in the next one.